Hey family, welcome to Family Meeple. I'm Raymond, and yes, this has been a long time coming. I apologise, I haven't been uploading regular videos at the moment. My office is completely swamped, primarily because I've been trying to sort out my other hobby aspect, which is 3D printing. I have, and I will name names, a Creality 3 version 2 Neo Max. It's nearly 9 months old now, and it's been the most frustrating experience, literally causing me hours, days, weeks of frustration of just not being able to get this damn thing to print properly. I finally bit the bullet last week, or beginning of this week maybe even, and got myself one of these. My previous 3D printer was an Anycubic, and I found it to be excellent. It wasn't without its frustrations. It took a lot of time to get it configured, get it drilled in, but once it was done, it was really nice. Mistakenly at that point then, I thought, oh, it'd be great to have a bigger build plate. It was 250mm by 250mm on the base. Thought, it'd be great to have 30mm by 30mm, and then I can print off things like zombicide boards, etc. So I upgraded and got myself a bigger printer by a different manufacturer, and looked around and thought, oh, Creality seems to be absolutely up there in the community. Lots of these Ender 3s knocking around. That's clearly the machine to go for. Boy, was I mistaken. Nothing but frustration, and that frustration just grew worse the more I drilled into having to replace component after component after component. I've probably spent 50% more on replacing components than I paid for the original device. It's been an absolute pain. Anyway, skip forward to now. Enough of my waffling. This is the Anycubic Kobra 3 Combo. I did see this at the time and thought, wow, that looks really good. I have since looked at, obviously I've resisted looking at any reviews. I got to the point of just absolute frustration, looked at some reviews, and I am hoping this is the answer to my prayers, the answer to my continual 3D printing frustrations. Let's have a look and dig into what is included in this box, have a look at how it sets up. By all accounts, it should set up pretty easily compared to a lot of printers out there. I've heard it said this is probably the closest now. This is a game changer in the sort of the cheaper end of consumer market. So this is £300 is what I paid for this, all in for shipping. And this includes the printer itself and a unit which can hold up to 4 spools of PLA or whatever your preferred material is for printing. So I think you can do things like PTEG and various different aspects like that. And all the different materials have their own properties, and your limitation is very much on sort of the temperatures of the nozzle. But yes, so very excited to dig in, and I thought, well, I'll bring you along for the ride, seeing as I normally do board game unboxings, seeing as I clearly have to unbox this and get this out and hopefully get it set up and working. I figured I'd bring you along for the ride. So yeah, if you were expecting another board game episode, I apologise. This is one of my not board game episodes. So let's have a look. We've got this warning here. Warning: the foam under hotbed must be removed before printing. So good tip. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, see what we've got. Now then, I have a suspicion I'm going to struggle to unbox this whilst it's on the table. So I'm going to take a moment, get it off the table, pop it out of the box. It looks like everything's all in one piece, so that's great. And then we'll come back and have a look and see what we've got. And we're back. Okay. For a single person job, that is a lot more effort than I expected. Okay, so yeah, pin the box down with your feet, pull and pull and pull. Eventually this comes out. Whew, okay. 2-man job I'd recommend. If you've got little helpers interested in these hobbies, I think they would be delighted to help. Okay, so we have lots of foam. Let's start digging in. We have a manual. Oops, there we go. So we've got the Anycubic Kobra 3 Combo user manual. So this is the printer itself when it's all set up and configured. And then this is the unit that I was making reference to earlier, where it holds the filament spools. So I'll put that to one side. Here we go. So as usual, you get a small amount of filament. So you can do your first print, get a test run up and running. We've got, what have we got? A purge wiper. We've got various screws, components. So yeah, so you know, in typical fashion, right? This is a hobby in and of itself. I do forewarn, lots of people are very interested in the 3D printing world, but it is a hobby in and itself, and it does take time. And I'm used to taking time doing stuff. Whoops. Pretty little USB stick, very nice. That should have a default initial print file on it, ready to go. Small amount of PLA. Got our PTFE tube, I think it is. They're basically what they coat frying pans with. I'm thinking Kevlar, but it's not Kevlar. The non-stick stuff anyway. So the idea is your PLA or your whatever your filament is goes through this tube into via the extractor into the hot end, and the hot end melts it. So you still get quite a number of screws, various components. So yeah, it does look like there is still a small amount of assembly to be done. But for now, I'm just going to pop those in there. So it's not quite, you know, out the box and onto the table and press play. So you do need to be aware, this is a hobby in and of itself. So let's have a look, see what else we get. A piece of plastic. Always nice to have an extra piece of plastic. This is the handle. So if you were to purchase this on its own, this would be the handle to which you would attach your spool of PLA or what have you. So this will not be required for my setup. Wait. Oh, so that's got a bit of weight to it. So this is the touch screen for the device. So that's great. So there was one criticism I saw, one frustration of just the ribbon cable that connects to the printer is still very much just a ribbon cable that connects to the printer. Really minor quibble from some people out there. Seems to be just a scratch or something on the, hopefully that's just on plastic. I'll have a look at that properly when we get to plug it in. Okay, so that's all that's in there. We get our UK standard 3-pin power cable. There is 2 of these. Not entirely sure. Oh no, because it comes with the unit, so we'll need to plug in the unit as well to feed the feeder. There is, and then this is the big thing. All other 3D printers I've had to date, via FDM 3D printers, where you use the spool rather than resin, their cables have been very much of the ilk of old school, very much feeling like an electronics kit cabling solution. Yeah, so you would literally have a very thin cable. It would just be black and red, you know, bits of wire, and there'd be a white plastic connector at one end and a white plastic connector at the other end. You can see all the pins, and it's very, you know, it's quite ugly, and it is very much like you've got an electronics kit to create your machine. This is a significant game changer for this market level of 3D printers, and it really excites me. This looks like a high-end connector cable you would expect to get if you were paying for, you know, a very much an unboxed plug and play device. This is fantastic. I'm loving this, and I'm sure ultimately, actually, when you dig into this, it's probably not much more than it was originally, right? In terms of, it's a better wire with a connector, but it makes such a difference to the look and feel of what you're using and what you're doing. This, I believe, is the poop tray. So this printer has color changing technology, and with that color changing technology, it means there will be a point where, as it's feeding through the spool of a particular color, it will then need to switch to the other spool. What it does is it moves the head across to this area. It will then print an amount of the current PLA, say black, until the point where the white then, as your next color, feeds through and is then pure white, and then this will then catapult that piece of PLA poop, and then it will remove back and then resume printing your 3D print, now printing in white. So do you need to be aware in designing whatever your prints are, you want to minimize the amount of poop being produced on a print by print basis. So really interested to check that out. It's the first time I've had a multicolor printer of any sort. Again, really excited to have a play with that. Okay, and that is that layer empty. So this is the final piece in here. This is the print head. So this will attach to the printer and will move backwards and forwards and up and down, and ultimately that is what is controlling and determining the print itself, right? This is not fancy. Effectively what you've got here is a hot glue gun. The filament will feed into one of these 4 apertures, so you can have up to 4 different PLAs preset in this unit here, which I'm about to show you, and it will switch and control and manage that all for you according to the file that you've sent into it, and it will manage that. But effectively what it's doing then is it's feeding down here into this hot end, well in fact sorry, this hot end. So this is the heat sink. So the idea is you want to keep the PLA cool right up until here when it hits the nozzle, and it's the nozzle that then heats up and melts that PLA. If the heat is traveling up here, which is heat creep, which is potentially one of the things that I was suffering with my previous printer and purchased a new headstock, then that means you're getting clogs up into here and your printer's going to fail. So that's what this hot end unit is doing. You've got a heat sink dissipating the heat so it doesn't get clogged up into there, and then it melts it down here at the hot end. I'm going to go with this potentially being a 0.4mm hot end nozzle. You can swap these out for different sizes, and that will determine obviously the quality, the finer detail quality of the prints that you're going to be producing with your printer. Very nice design, nice aerodynamic design. So you've got lots of ventilation going on there. Teflon? Is that what I said before? I thought Kevlar. Teflon was what I was thinking. And there is looks like there's a bit of a quick release mechanism as well. So yeah, really interested to dig into more of that detail. But again, you can see here we've got the much more updated USB cable connector here, with the opportunity to screw those in. So you need to tighten those in. I did see one person who did set up all the printer, got it all configured, except they didn't put the screws, the tightening fastening screws, on one of those connectors, and so as soon as they set it up and put it on, it then failed. And it took them a moment to check all the connections, and they found that's what it was. So you do need to make sure all the connections are firmly secured, all the screws are tightened and in place, and it checks for all those things. So that's great. Obviously the downside in his instance was it then didn't give him a message to say, oh, by the way, this cable's loose, go and check this, or what have you. So, you know, but that was very much purchased like on the day of release. Hopefully we've rolled out some software updates to this now, but we'll see what we get. Okay, so the next part of this then is the unit that sits beside the printer, and I confess I am concerned and worried just how much or how little space I am getting or have left in my office, come hobby shop, as you see around me. So yeah, fun and games, right? Fit all this stuff in, gonna go for it. Okay, so here's the back of the main unit. So we've got two connectors, not labeled, but they are different. So one connector will connect this to the actual printer itself. One connector will connect it in a different way. I can't remember. I did see someone else mention it, that they, again, in their particular setup, they'd got the cables mixed up and they thought it was one cable and it was actually something else, and they did make an error when they were first connecting, and there was just a comment of maybe different colors or what have you may assist with that sort of stuff. But anyway, whatever. Being aware at the outset that can happen, because there are two cables effectively with the same connector. There is that opportunity to make an error when setting this up, so that's fine. I'll just be aware of that when I'm setting up. Okay, we've got our connectors here. I love this. Okay, so what we've got, I've got this set up on my current FDM 3D printer. So this clip slides out, this pushes down. At the point this pushes down, you can then remove the tubing. The purpose of this is to keep it flush in place. This is a locking mechanism that when this is pushed up, it locks your tube in place. When you remove this and push it down, you can then remove the tube. So that's how the locking mechanism works. So it's quite amusing to me to see all very much kind of the traditional tropes I'm used to from an FDM printer perspective, and then just seeing them very much just repurposed, reutilized, and used again and again throughout. There's nothing changed here, but it has been stepped up in terms of its usability and what it's providing you as a consumer using your 3D printer, which I absolutely love. It's fantastic. Okay, and then over here we've just got your connector for power, and that's it. That's what's on the back there. Flipping over to the front, beautiful design. I really love this design. There is absolutely nothing cheap looking about this design. This absolutely looks like a beautiful high-end product, and so far everything I have seen, I am absolutely thoroughly impressed. Now I did see again there was quibbles about this locking mechanism, people saying that they found this particularly hard or difficult to use. So let's move it across and it unlocks, and that's it. And then you move it across and it's locked. I'm not entirely sure what people found difficult to use. I think they just found it difficult to kind of get their fingers in, perhaps, you know, so saying it's a bit stiff, and I imagine over time that's going to, like anything else, it will loosen, and it'll make it a bit easier. But yeah, so unlock to open and lock. Okay, then this is the ACE unit, or ACE unit. But yes, ACE Pro. And what we've got in here, let's just pop this open and have a look. Okay, I found that easy enough. Don't know. Anyway, so we get 4 of these cables. That's what I was looking at the back, showing you earlier. So these plug into the back of this. One for each of the spools that you're going to put in here. Really interested that, yeah, I've got. Again, one of the things I came across when I was struggling with my other FDM printer was lots of people saying, oh, you've got moisture in your filament, that's why you've got loads of stringing, it's moisture in the PLA. You need to get a heater unit so it can dry the filament, and then you leave the PLA in that filament box and you print directly from that whilst it's heated, and then that just removes the moisture and you're going to get smoother prints. Okay, I purchased one of those. It kind of worked. It was cheap. You know, I wasn't going to spend 120 quid plus on a flipping piece of plastic that holds my PLA. Ultimately, you know, that heats up, right? That's what it is, okay? This, on the other hand, is far more functional, because you've seen we've got the 4 connectors on the back. As you put in the PLAs, you can have different colors, and all of them feed directly. Okay, they light up at the front here. Okay, yeah, so you've got lights at the front, they all connect at the back, and as it automatically switches from one color to another, you'll see as it's going through the change, the LED lights on the front will light up to indicate it's now switching, so you can see all this stuff happening. But this also heats and dries your PLA or whatever your material is whilst it's in storage as well. So there is no, or certainly minimizing the risk of there being moisture in your PLA or your particular preferred material. I'm just going to refer to it as PLA from now on. Okay, no, there are other materials. So yeah, you can just reduce the moisture if there is any moisture, just to make sure. And again, obviously that's going to vary around the globe, right? We all live in different climates, so some areas might be more prone to having damp PLA compared to other regions. I live in the UK, and certainly yes, it can definitely be an issue, or at least certainly to my experience from what I've read on forums and what I've experienced trying to print. When I had the unit that heated the PLA, certainly I found it did make a difference. It did help to reduce the stringing and improve the quality of the prints. That is what this is doing. So it's got the dual factor of being able to multi-feed and manage that for you through automation and heat your PLA. So that is what this device is doing, which is, again, it's great. It's all about making your life easier as a consumer, as a user of this product. Oop. I think that's the there we go. That's the people's frustration just trying to get in there. Right, I'm just going to pop these back in there as well. Okay, right, I'll just pop that to one side for the moment. We have a protective section, always like a good protective section, and then we're down to the actual printer itself. And again, this was one of the things that people were delighted about. Usually when you purchase a 3D printer, certainly of this price point, it will come in multiple parts and you'll have to do a lot more assembly work. This, on the other hand, as you can see, comes pretty much pre-assembled. Something fell off, and I don't know what. Oh, it's my scalpel, that's one. Thankfully not into my foot. Yeah, so if I take this out and just pop that, oh, I feel so dizzy. Pop that to one side for a moment, so there's nothing else in here. That is everything else done. Yep, okay, so we can get rid of that and that. We're done. Okay, so yeah, beautiful. So this is the warning on the front of the box to remove these before printing. We have, why is it, oh, that's weird. Okay, double-sided PEI sheet. Yes, so you can flip this off, flip it over. So if you do find that the texture on this, which is used there to grip your prints, does get a bit worn, you can flip this over, use the other side. You can buy a replacement for these very reasonably. I'm just going to very gently, carefully edge this forward. So one of the things that I have heard people comment of, never had an issue with it myself, but I have heard it said. At the back here, there is a motor. Really simple, very simple. Okay, this motor moves this fan belt, and this belt moves this backwards and forwards. Okay, when you are moving this backwards and forwards, you are always going to be rotating this, which means you're generating a small amount of electricity in the particular motor. So you want to be cautious and conscious and careful of how much electricity you're forcing into here, because you clearly don't want to damage the component, the motor. Okay, again, not massively expensive to replace, but you don't want to have to replace it, particularly when it's a brand new device you've just unboxed. Okay, so that out the way. Again, really, it's the little things with these, right? So if I move this back, we've got at the back here, what's this? This is this. I'm like, that's oil that's come from somewhere, I'm thinking. Okay, so important things to note: clean your PEI sheet. So wherever obviously this has been in a factory, there will have been various fingers on it and whatnot. So yeah, you know, you want to clean this, but you get an idea now of the size of this. Yeah, so that huge massive box obviously was containing not just this but this as well. Yeah, so there's a lot going on here. The idea is that sits to the side of this and these two things connect together. Okay, so God, I'll need to get the clippers out certainly to unfasten these. Yeah, I was saying, oil and debris on your PEI sheet, what you're going to be printing on your bed, your print bed, you definitely make sure this is clean. I did see some people talking about their first print, they were having issues, and actually once they cleaned this with a bit of IPA, isopropanol, so your high alcohol, actually it was fine. I have used window cleaner before, so that can work as well, because it just evaporates off and it just lifts any debris. So those are things you definitely can do to help. I'm just going to see if I can get back to, yeah, so this view here, let me see, it's really good capture. Okay, so at the back here, these tags out of the way. Okay, so at the back, what you're seeing here, this, I love this. I did have an issue with my Anycubic 3D printer previously, where the cable here had basically, because this moves backwards and forwards, it had actually bent and broken the wires inside of here, and as a result of breaking those wires, the bed wasn't keeping its temperature, and I had to do various checks, and the customer service was excellent in guiding me through that process with videos online and emails with very clear instructions to follow, and yeah, I just replaced that cable, and it was, you know, it was maybe 10-15 minutes work, you know, so not a tremendous amount of work, and it worked perfectly fine after that. But just to be aware, so again, this, I'm loving this. This is far more robust, much less likely to have that damage occur. It's got all that extra padding around it. Great, loving to see that. And then also just here, I don't know if that's just coming up on the screen there, is I love this. You've got like almost a little foot brush. So when your printer head is being charged with moving around and you go to start a print, it will come back here and it will wipe the nozzle and clean that for you along here, and then proceed to print, which is fantastic. I love that. What I have seen in the past is generally just down the side here that it will print kind of an initial line to kind of get the print started, and it's a good sense check initially as someone sending it who just sent to print. You know, is the nozzle blocked? Is it going to print okay? Am I going to run into any issues right at the outset? And I do notice these are, well, this is certainly numbered. Oh, it's got a number 3 on it. Yes, so it's of course the Anycubic Kobra 3. And again, if I flip this over and try not to cause too much to do here, there we go. So we've got the yeah, number 3 there. So, and the only other complaint that I've seen, right, and all this stuff is minor, it's niggling, it's small design aspects that you just leaves you scratching your head thinking, why did they do that? At the front of the printer is where you then connect the box that goes to the side. You connect your camera, so I have got a camera coming for this, so you will have the ability to record the print using the camera. And the other thing with that is it does monitor for if there's been an issue with the print. It can actually be used to pause the print and raise an alarm that you need to give it some attention. So again, really, really nice features. And then I can't recall what the final one is for. Maybe connecting. Yeah, maybe connect. So you can have 2 of these great big PLA boxes. So you can connect them together. Oh yeah, that's what it was. The other socket on the back of this unit is to piggyback. So you can have up to 8 colours and send a single 8 colour print to this printer, and it will automatically change between those colours and give you an 8 colour model. My mind is blown. I'm really excited. Now, as someone generally who paints their miniatures, right, because it's all for board games generally that I'm doing, it's a lesser issue. Where it really does come into its own for me is when you've got components that I'm wanting to print, things that I'm wanting to print. I'm getting oil everywhere. I think it's on these. So obviously I'm trying not to touch these particularly. So these are the rods that assist this going up and down. Again, the cheapest models only have a single rod on one side. Ideally you want to have 2 rods linked together at the top and controlled at the bottom, so they will operate in sync, and they're going to be moving the bed up and down. And then, as I say, otherwise you've got a motor that moves the bed forwards and backwards, and another motor here that controls moving the print head left and right. So left, right, forward, back. That's generally printing on that single plane of axis, plane of existence, on that single plane, and then it moves up and up and up, and you get your 3D print form. So if anybody like a resin printer, but the other way around with the resin printer, and I've got the Anycubic resin printer as well. And do you know what? I fired my Anycubic resin printer up this week. First time in over about a year. I think about a year, maybe just over a year. I had resin still sat in the vat, and I thought, oh, do you know what? Blow it. Okay, I'm just gonna plug my USB stick in, send a print. I've got a brand new mini to print. I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go, and it worked a dream. No issues at all. Fantastic. I have been nothing but impressed with Anycubic as a company, from their customer support, from the actual machines that they create. And yeah, by all accounts, this is, as I said before, the game changer in terms of giving you a printer that would normally set you back probably in the region of £1,200 and making it available at a far more palatable £300. Now I did get that on offer. I think the full MSRP is I think around £550–600. So yeah, recognise I did get this on offer, and I had an extra voucher for a few more quids discount. So they're all aspects to consider, right? If you're looking at this and then go online and think, where the flipping out did you get this for 300 quid from? Okay, I bought this directly from Anycubic, and again, I do find that is helpful. Buying directly from the manufacturer on the basis that if you do have any support issues, if you do need to contact support, you'll go back directly to the manufacturer, say, this is my printer, this is my issue, this is my order number. They have all that information on file. It just makes that process that much simpler and easier. Yes, of course, it is a commodity. Yes, of course, you can buy it from lots of retailers out there. But if and where possible, I would prefer to buy directly from the manufacturer, and I just find the process later on as a consumer using the product becomes that bit easier. That's my experience. I have found if I have purchased items from somewhere else, generally I can forward a copy of the order form, the receipt, what have you. So yeah, it's not a massive complication, but it's an extra layer of something else you have to do, right? I'm for the simple, easy life. I'm a simple, easy guy. I like things simple, easy. What can I say? Okay, so over here then we also have these. These were tucked in just underneath here. So again, just coming down to that table view. Loving this. Again, gone are the days of these just tiny little black and red cables and just looking like you've got an electronics kit sat on the side, something that you've popped out of a box in individual components and parts put together yourself. This looks far more like a consumer device that you've pulled out the box, you whack on the side, you plug in the last couple of components, and you set it going. That is I love it. So here we got the connectors to connect to, I think this one goes into the PLA box. It's the ACE unit. And then this clearly connects to the print head, and I think it was this one here, this USB cable, and this is standard USB cable, right? So brilliant. And it just has those 2 screw slots, so you can fasten that straight in. Do need to be aware of that. We've got the on-off and switch on this side. We've got, this was the other, like I say, the other minor quibble that was somebody was talking about, was the notion of having this cable, so the ribbon, there's still the old school ribbon. So there's a bit of plastic sellotape just holding this down. Yeah, and that will connect, ultimately just connect this. So we've got a nice solid metal arm that will screw that into the side here, and then that's where that will sit, and that plugs into there, into the ribbon slots. And this is, I mean, this is very much, you know, as you would see it inside if you were to take a laptop apart. You know, I've spent too many years tinkering, right guys? I've built my own desktops, built my own laptops. This is very much the typical ribbon you would see inside of a laptop to power your screen. So yeah, it's kind of, I guess to a degree, it's exposed component level quality. Yeah, I think that's the quibble with it ultimately. But again, you know, wires you can wrap in plastic and rubber and you know, make nice and colourful like this, and they look great. What, not entirely sure what you would do with a ribbon like this. I mean, that's quite a thickness. That's a good probably inch old school thickness, 2.5 centimeters. What are you going to do, right? I don't know. Again, I guess you could hide this on the inside and have a nice thick cable coming out and feed that way instead. Maybe like an HDMI cable of sorts, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, otherwise, that is it, folks. That is the unboxing. I am thoroughly impressed with what I've seen getting this out of the box. The quality on this is absolutely top notch that I've seen so far. What we have, I'll just flip this around on the front here. Oh yeah, I mean there's massive dollops. There's like a massive dollop of oil on here, and that's right. I'm fine. You know, you want it to be lubricated, right? You don't want this stuff clogging and not being able to work, and yeah, and it's just pop off here. That's all being just held into place, held together, and I'll remove this piece here that's just giving that bit of extra stability, making sure stuff doesn't rattle around in shipping. So yeah, give the bed a good clean, and then we'll set up, give it a good test print. But by all accounts, it should be very easy. Oh yeah, so I flipped it around, sorry, so I was just going to show you. Yeah, so we've got the Anycubic 3 you know, logo, the nice design, sort of go faster stripes and all that stuff. Loving it. Really nice quality build, really sleek. It hasn't got, like I say, just those all connectors and wires everywhere. It just looks so much better. Okay, so there was one other thing I was going to mention, which again, really excited about and quite intrigued as well. The notion is, there's a couple of things. So one is they worked directly with, who did they work with? I've got to try and remember the flipping name now. Darn it. Whoop. This is a special edition printer filament. If I flip the top down, we can see this. So you get a nice fancy design. Oh, there we go. It's a nice fancy design. Now, as far as I can see, they only have 4 colours. Now, I don't know whether they're intending to do more colours in this range, which does strike me as a bit odd. Not quite sure what's happening there. But the interesting thing with me is these are... Oh, I remember the flipping name of it. So this colour officially is Peach Fuzz. And they worked with, who did they bloody work with? I can't remember their flipping name. Oh, this is really annoying. This is really annoying. Oh, the people that do Pantone. Pantone? I'm going to say Pantone. God, my memory is frustrating. Right. So, the guys that officially define and create all the different colour ranges Yeah, so you can go in and you can really specifically say, I want a business card in that particular color, you know, rather than sharing a PDF file with as best as you could see on the screen, and then when it comes out it's not quite the same as it was on the screen, etc, etc. That's what Pantone do, is they make sure your colors are 100% exactly what you would expect and anticipate. So these guys worked with Pantone to create these 4 special edition colors that are available. Okay, and again, it's great, right? So you set them up in your ACE unit, and as you print, you can pre-program and it will switch automatically between them. So that was one thing I loved, the fact you could buy a specific Pantone registered color, have it shipped to you in PLA, and you can use that and print items in that specific color. Fantastic, love that. There was one other thing as well, however, and for me it's a game changer and something that I'm, I guess, intrigued and surprised hasn't been thought of sooner, but you always got to be the first person to do it at some point, right? These new spools, which are Anycubic PLA, are RFI registered. So when you put this spool in the ACE unit, the printer knows this is the PLA it's printing. And so it automatically configures itself to the optimal settings for this specific PLA. So different colors, because of the level of ink you need to put into that PLA to give you that vibrancy, potentially have slightly different quirks on, you know, how much heat and the feed rates because of the melt, slightly different because of the level of ink to make that PLA, etc, etc, right? This takes all of that into consideration and registers it on a chip. So when you put this spool in the ACE unit and tell your printer to print from it, the printer knows this is the PLA you've installed in here. When I'm printing, I know how to treat this PLA to get the best results. Fantastic. I absolutely love that. Now it does mean, as you would expect, this does come at a slightly more premium price. Now in this case, I've purchased a colour of the a spool of the coloured and a spool of just plain black. As far as I'm aware, they are both RFI registered. I will of course find out in short course. So when you put either of these PLA spools into the machine, it will know what it is that you have inserted. But it does mean it will know the difference between, oh yeah, black operates in this way, this is how I need to print when I'm printing from that spool versus the peach. And yeah, so it comes at a slightly more premium price because obviously it has to have that slightly additional element. It's not just a spool of plastic they're shipping you on a spindle, but it does make the whole purposes, it makes life easier. It gives you more consistent results, which is absolutely what you want in this hobby. And of course, like anything else, if you buy in bulk directly from the manufacturer, you will get a discount. So if you buy, I believe it is 20 spools, and I believe you can mix and match with that, right? But if you buy 20 spools, which will do you probably a good year, maybe 2, depending on, you know, what levels of printing you're doing, right? But you can get these for as little as £8.99 a spool, which, trust me, is ridiculously cheap. Even going out and trying to source from all different manufacturers and going to, you know, your regular retail places online, Amazon, all the rest of it, you're going to struggle, even with vouchers and offers and all the rest of it, yeah? So at that price, these are ridiculously good. And yeah, I mentioned it because it's the first time I've come across where effectively it means, why would I buy a different manufacturer's PLA when I know if I buy from these guys, it is specifically designed at the base level to operate specifically with my machine. My machine will recognize this, rather than me having to tune it and program it and tell it, all right, when you switch from this PLA to that PLA, actually I need to slightly tweak the temperature and the feed and the whatever, because it's a slightly different consistency. Yeah, all that's gone. Fantastic. Loving that they take that into consideration, which is brilliant. You know, it's about, as far as I'm concerned, it's about making my life easier as a consumer wanting to use their products to produce the goods that I want, right? For me, this is about stuff like, I've got here Chronicles of Drunagor. Okay, Chronicles of Drunagor as a board game came to me all in pledge, 18 boxes. Okay, insane. I'm struggling for room as it is. Why would I flipping want 18 boxes of board game content? I've got over here, slightly off of camera, Zombicide Undead or Alive. 11 boxes, I think that one was. Yeah, 11 boxes. Having a 3D printed insert, which you can purchase. So for me, I went to an organisation called Tinkerpaws, okay? They've done a fantastic job of creating 3D inserts for Zombicide Undead or Alive, amongst lots of other games, as well as Chronicles of Drunagor. Now, Zombicide Undead or Alive, I went and purchased a physical product from them that shipped to me. All the plastic components of the insert and instructions on how to organise my 11 boxes and get them down to 2 boxes that take up 1 space on my Kallax shelf. That is a game changer, okay? But that cost me, I can't remember now, I'm guessing probably in the region of £200 just for the plastic insert, okay? Skip ahead a few years, and Tinkerpaws have released a small number, and they're trialing it, the files. So I could print myself the insert for Chronicles of Drunagor. Okay, now it takes time, absolutely, but over £200, I think it was about £250 to purchase the pre-printed, and don't get me wrong, you know, it's all very high quality stuff, pre-printed insert for Chronicles of Drunagor, taking those 18 boxes down to 2. 1 Kallax slot for the all-in pledge, absolutely everything. Game changer, folks. But it meant I could spend 50 odd quid and buy the STL files directly from the people that took the time to map it all out, plan it all out. More than happy to do that, and then take the few days or a week or whatever it is to print and effectively manufacture my own insert. But it's cost me a fraction of the price. Yeah, because let's be fair, this printer, £300, right? An insert for a game, £250. You can see it does not take long at all before that stuff mounts up very, very quickly, right? Efforts like Tanari's, obviously this is the big box edition, all comes pre-inserted. Things like Other Way, Cthulhu Death May Die, Simon done a fantastic job of shipping their goods, very well organised, except for maps and components. Everything else is ridiculously well organised straight out the box. You wouldn't need to buy anything else, but then you're kind of left with these bits left over and you go, well, what do I do with those? Stuff like Zombicide, Marvel Zombies, Zombicide, and likewise the Zombicide Undead or Alive. Completely different story, right? Great from a box by box, but there's a lot of air, there's a lot of wasted space. Yeah, so Zombicide Undead or Alive got that down to from 11 boxes to just 2. Makes a world of difference, folks. So that is definitely a part of, not a being on end all, but certainly a part of what I'm going to be using this for to enhance my board game experience. And then in addition to that is obviously then creating your own components. So stuff like, I've got a game called Space Base. Yeah, Space Base, fantastic game. You get a piece of cardboard with all your cubes that track and monitor everything that's going on. I might do a video of it and show you what I've created, and I'll release the files, right? Because I did find some files online and they were good, but they weren't great. I took those original files, I modified them myself and recreated them effectively from scratch, but took that initial idea and I made them great. And I boast, right? But it means literally you get your player board, you slide it in to a base tray, and then you have another tray that goes over the top of that, and now all of your components are all held in place and they're not sliding anywhere. You don't, because this is the issue, right? If you've got just a piece of paper or card and you're putting cubes on that card or paper, and then someone knocks the table, or you just reach across and your jumper sleeve or something like that, you know, catches, and now suddenly it's like, I don't know where that component was. I don't know how much money I had or how much influence, or, you know, whatever the nuances for the particular game that you're playing. Terraforming Mars was another great example of that. It was a fantastic game, but they just gave you a piece of card that you had to manage lots of cubes on, and if you then suddenly jolted that slightly or something like that, you know, something happens, that's it. I've got no idea where anything was, right? So you bring out an insert, and even Cthulhu Death May Die, yeah, so, and they addressed that, right? So the very first Kickstarter they had, the stretch goals box as it was, that came free and is now still available for purchase. They're just wrapping up late pledges on Cthulhu Death May Die seasons, what are we up to, 5 and 6. Yeah, so I've got 1 and 2, I've got 3 and 4 down here because I'm running out of space, and 5 and 6 is backed. They're just closing the pledge banner to it. They're manufacturing it already. That will be on its way in a year or 2. Although, did you see the latest news on Simon? You might want to look at that. Anyway, I'm digressing, apologies. So yeah, just things like that, those board game components, so not just necessarily inserts, but the functional level of, actually, I'm making my ability to play the game simpler and easier, more streamlined and less fuss. Yeah, I'm not going to risk stuff getting knocked and therefore effectively ruining the enjoyment of the game, right? It's frustrating, has been my experience, when you're playing a game, you're really enjoying the game, and then suddenly something happens and and you know, I've been to friends' houses and they've got cats, a cat flipping jumps on the table, components go everywhere. No one wants that, right? If you've got just an extra layer of plastic over the top that just locks those components into place, it really does make such a difference. Anyway, I'm warbling. You came here to see that, you saw that. Thank you for joining me. If you join me, I'm really excited. Hopefully you can see that. Getting this set up, getting this yeah, working, hopefully, and yeah, see what it can produce for me. Yeah, I was gonna say the multicolour element. So both Zombicide Undead Alive that I pre-purchased with the Chronicles of Drunagor, these guys created inserts to dividers for cards, and that's where for me the multicolour element comes in. So with the dividers for cards that they created, what you could do is do multi-layer. So the very first layer would be, for example, white, and then the next layers that go over the top of that, they effectively then cut out the words, so that you've got white in the background and then black on top, so that when you look at it, you've effectively got a divider with the white wording, and then it's actually a black divider or whatever colour you want, right? So again, little things like that make a big difference in terms of the functionality. So there's things like that that are great. But you can do, I've seen all kinds of stuff, you know, Pokemon balls, Daffy Duck heads. There's some fantastic examples and kind of moving things that you can create with 3D printers. The designs, the notions, the people are just continually pushing out the notion of what you can produce with these things, what you can try and get to be manufactured as a single print is fantastic. I'm loving this as a hobby in addition to this as a hobby. But yeah, as I mentioned, it is time consuming. If you've got a machine that works, it's fantastic, because literally you go on a computer, you maybe spend half an hour creating a file, stick it on a USB stick, plug it in, press print, it does its thing. Several hours later, you come away and, all right, great, I've got my thing now, I can now use that in my game, yeah, or whatever it is. Fantastic, loving it. Okay, when it goes wrong, it's an absolute bane. It is hours and hours, and as I say, that is the scenario I've been in that really has forced my hand to purchase this. It is just so life draining, I think is the best way I can describe it. It is just life draining, of just, you try something, you swap out components, you spend a lot of time doing that stuff, then you try and print and then it doesn't work and you're back, what is going on? Or you start to get a print happening and then you think, okay, great, now I need to fine tune it, and you start to fine tune it and then you're suddenly back to just spaghetti being produced out of these damn things. Yeah, tumbleweed, literally just a massive, just melted plastic. Oh, it is just an excruciating experience. Okay, so I present this to you today not to say this is going to be the be all and end all. This will still have its issues, this will still have its qualms and its quirks, okay, but this is certainly getting closer to being able to buy a 3D printing device that literally you can pop on your shelf, plug it in, attach a spool of PLA, stick it in a USB stick and say, print me that, and it prints it. Job done. Okay, that is what we all want to get to. Yeah, or certainly for me, I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't want to be sat there with a flipping soldering iron having to reconnect cables to a PCB board. Yeah, I did that at school. I was crap at it then, I'm crap at it now. I don't want to have to be doing it. I'm not an engineer, it's not what I signed up to. If you are, fantastic, all the best for you. Yeah, and I'm sure you'll have tremendous fun with all the phenomenal kits that are out there, where literally you buy a box of pieces and you build the entire thing from scratch. And there are people out there, not me, that absolutely get a kick out of that. For me, I'd rather be spending my time, yeah, designing something, send it to print, and now I can use it in my games, and I'm using my games and I'm enjoying life. This has, my 3D printing experience has been an absolute bane over, particularly over the last few weeks, and has very much been the reason I've just not been able to produce videos for you guys. And it really has frustrated me not being able to get to my table, not being able to play games, because it's just been covered in parts. So yeah, hopefully you will have me back on track shortly, producing more of my regular content again. I've got a raft of more miniatures that need painting. I've got a raft of more games still to get to the table for the first time. I haven't even started delving into Tenares. I haven't started delving into Chronicles of Dunigor. Both of those have been with me for quite some time. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing through the latest contents for Cthulhu Death May Die. I've got the next season and the other expansion box, the stretch goal content, and the animals to go through. So really looking forward to digging into all that, as well, of course, season 3 for Marvel United, when it doesn't even feature behind me. I've got a wall over here that I'm preparing to set up as I'm going through painting the miniatures and actually mounting them all. So yeah, it's a crazy life. I'm loving life. I'm hopefully looking forward to loving not having this continued frustrating experience with my 3D printer. But I will feedback, I will let you know, and hopefully, like I say, I've got a camera coming for it, so I'll plug that in, and yeah, I'll stick some stop time motion videos online. You can see some of my prints hopefully coming to full, and I can share some of my files as well then that I've created. So I've done some stuff for Zombicide, Undead or Alive, and various other bits. Yeah, Space Base was the other one that I was talking about. Just that frustrating experience, just the components needing that uplift. Anyway, that is it for me. Thank you, as always, for listening to my warbling, waffling, and ranting. Hopefully, it's been a help to some of you guys, particularly, you know, if it's something that you've thought about for some time. Is it worth getting into? Is the hype really all it is from a 3D printing perspective? This, by all accounts, as I was watching the reviews 8 months ago when it first came out, this is a game changer. I have only utmost confidence that it has continued to get better. So yeah, I will follow it up and share my experience further with you and let you know how I got on. Otherwise, as always folks, thank you for watching. If you have liked this video, please hit that like button. If you do want to encourage me to continue to make this content, please do hit that subscribe. It really does encourage me. Otherwise, just to say thank you very much, and I'll see you back at the table soon. Ta-ta for now.